What in the Kawhi Leonard is going on? All right, today we're going to talk about this bombshell story that dropped about Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, and essentially Kawhi Leonard getting some side money from Steve Ballmer and the LA Clippers, which, due to recent tweets, doesn't seem to be the case. So we'll start off from the very beginning. And I will say this, which with most of these stories, I'm always of team, let's wait and let it play out and see all of the facts, because it's very easy to jump to conclusions. Don't get me wrong, we all do. As soon as I heard the story, I was like, oh damn, the Clippers were trying to be sneaky. But you got to refrain from that and kind of let the story do what it will. And right now, my current opinion is like, damn, Pablo Torre looks like an idiot. But again, I'm not just gonna run with that, because I think that more information needs to come out. Like, we need to let this play out and hear from all parties involved and hear everyone's perspective, which I think is very important. So the way the story begins, essentially, Pablo Torre, I think he's an independent reporter now, used to work for ESPN, came out with the story that he looked into this company that essentially was the sponsor of the Clippers. Aspiration, I believe, is the name of this company. It's supposed to be like a plant company. And they found out that that company was due to be paying KL2 LLC, which most of us can put together, Kawhi Leonard, who wears number 2, $28 million over the next 7 years, or over the next 4 years. So $7 million per season, essentially. And the clause on there said that they would pay him that so long as he stayed a part of the Clippers and didn't retire. So essentially it's saying, hey, if you're a Clipper, you're going to get $7 million a year for the next 4 years. It's an endorsement deal. But his part of the deal was to do nothing for the company. So it looked like a no-show contract. Now, as Aspire then filed for bankruptcy, and when the company files for bankruptcy, all that becomes public record. So Pablo Torre, the journalist, looks into it, and it shows when the company files for bankruptcy, it shows all the companies that they're meant to still owe money to. One of them was KL2 LLC. So Pablo Torre thinks about it and says, hold on a minute. So they got to give Kawhi Leonard still, or that's someone they had an agreement with for $28 million. And the connection with the Clippers is that Aspiration was a partner of the Clippers. So apparently they signed a $300 million sponsorship deal with the Clippers in 2021. So Pablo Torre thinks to himself, all right, well, then that means I think that Ballmer opened up this company and is funneling money through this company to his star player. Now, since then, more people have obviously spoken up, said things. And so I'll read a couple of things. I'll put this one up for everyone to see. Essentially, here, we'll take a look here. Mark Cuban comes out and says, I'm on Team Ballmer. As much as I wish they circumvented the salary cap, first, Steve isn't that dumb. If he did try to feed Kawhi Leonard money, knowing what was at stake for him personally and his team, do you think he would let the company go bankrupt, knowing all creditors would be visible to the world? They got scammed by Aspiration, among with many others, crimes for which they pleaded guilty last week. That's Aspiration that pleaded guilty last week. Scammers do scammy things. They did a $300 million sponsorship with the Clippers in 2021. That's a huge deal. The better the team does, the more value the sponsorship has. It actually makes perfect sense that if they stole money from investors and want the Clippers to succeed, why not give stolen money to help keep their best player? It's sad that Pablo Torre didn't take time to find out how these scammers pulled off their scam. The idea that the default is Ballmer is the bad guy is going to backfire on him. So a strong defense there of Steve Ballmer by Mark Cuban, who is a former owner of an NBA franchise. He used to own the Mavericks. Zach Lowe also posted recently a statement from the LA Clippers and Steve Ballmer in response to today's report by Pablo Torre, and it said, neither the Clippers nor Steve Ballmer circumvented the salary cap. The notion that Steve invested in Aspiration in order to funnel money to Kawhi Leonard is absurd. Steve invested because Aspiration's co-founders presented themselves as committed to doing right by their customers while protecting the environment. After a long campaign of market manipulation, which defrauded not only Steve, but numerous other investors and sports teams, Aspiration filed for bankruptcy. Its co-founder, Joseph Sandberg, recently pleaded guilty to a $243 million fraud. Neither Steve nor the Clippers had knowledge of any improper activity by Aspiration or its co-founder until the government initiated its investigation. Aspiration was a team sponsor for the 21-22 and 22-23 seasons before defaulting on its contract. There is nothing unusual or untoward about team sponsors doing endorsements deals with players on the same team. Neither Steve nor the Clippers organization had any oversight of Kawhi's independent endorsement agreement with Aspiration. To say otherwise is flat out wrong. The Clippers take NBA compliance extremely seriously, fully respect the league's rules, and welcome its investigation related to Aspiration. The Clippers will also continue to cooperate with law enforcement and its investigation into Aspiration's blatantly fraudulent activity. So, all that just to essentially say, I think there's a whole lot of nothing. It sucks that stories come out, people jump to conclusions, and again, we're in like an instant gratification time where everything has to be a big deal. And gossip is juicy. Like, we want it to be a big deal sometimes, but even before all this defense of the Clippers, let's say that Ballmer was funneling money like that to Kawhi Leonard. Like, is it wrong? Of course it's wrong. Is it good that Pablo Torre would have, quote unquote, caught them in the act? For sure. But at the same time, I don't know why people would be surprised, in a sense. Like, let me rephrase that. Them blatantly doing it like that is surprising. But have we not, for the past, since I've been following basketball, talked about how markets like LA, New York, Miami have an advantage with players? You don't think that's because of side deals that players get when they go to these markets? Like, duh. Like, you don't think why did KD, I feel like, openly talked about how him going to San Francisco and being around the tech industry was a plus for him. You don't think that the owners of the Warriors, when they're signing KD or negotiating with him, say, plus, man, we're really good friends with the people over at Facebook, which I'm sure would love to work with you. That in itself is a side deal, essentially. Like, being around the right people or knowing the right people is a pull for these owners. And it applies to everybody. Like, if you were in the restaurant business and you can work for a random restaurant or a restaurant that's ran by the guy that runs Hell's Kitchen and he knows other top chefs around the world, wouldn't you want to work with that guy? Because there's a chance that he'll put in a good word for you to get a deal somewhere. Like, that's just how the world works. So Pablo Torre, like, I'm not crapping on him. Like, he wants to do that. He wants his clout. Like, go for it. We all want clout. Like, recently I saw a thing with Sophie Cunningham going after Skip Bayless because Skip Bayless said that Sophie Cunningham wants clout. She does want clout. And so does Skip Bayless. And so do I. That's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I post on Instagram. That's everybody that's doing that is doing it for attention. What else are we posting for? We want to grow our brand, our business, our personalities, our opportunities. Yes. So that's what it's about. Like, I don't understand why people can't just admit that. Like, Sophie Cunningham should have been like, yeah, Skip's right. I do want the clout. And so does he. Case closed. Simple as that. But sometimes I feel like people just don't want to, like, live in the real world. So with Pablo Torre, like, I get it for him. He wants the attention of the journalism. But I also feel like, I mean, you have to ask yourself this question. There's 30 NBA teams. If the Clippers were caught with this and you gave all the other 29 owners truth serum, do you think that they would be happy or pissed that this news, that the Clippers would have been so-called caught in this act? I would argue most of them would be pissed off because most of them now would have the guard up thinking like, damn, like, this might now start affecting how we can work with our players. You don't think the Toronto Raptors, which I follow closely, their super fan owns car dealerships in Toronto. If you're negotiating, when you were negotiating with Kawhi, you don't think you could have been like, oh, and this is Nav, my homie, and he owns all the car dealerships in Toronto. He'll hook you up. That's technically a side deal. Like, there's so many ways to go around it. So, I mean, even before the truth, and there's more, I'm sure, that's going to come out of this and what's the truth and stuff. But even the initial story to me was like, yeah, like that's wrong. And in the perfect world, it wouldn't happen. But that's life. Like this goes on, I'm sure, with all teams. Like there's people find ways to go around and offer better things. Like LeBron coming to LA. Why? Because the TV world and the industry there. You don't think Genie Bus at any point has been like, hey, and you know, our fans and our season ticket holders are really good friends of mine. I'll introduce you to so and so. I mean, LeBron probably already knew everybody, but I'm just saying there's perks to that. And that's, you know, again, this would be a different case because this is very direct. I'm just saying, okay, then you would stop this. Congratulations. And they'd get fined and suspended and all that. But this is still going to go on. And if you want to dig deep and figure it out, like, I mean, you will and you can, and that's wonderful, but it's never going to stop. Like, that's just the way of the world. Like, people are going to look for advantages all the time. So, again, it's wrong. I'm not condoning it and saying, like, oh, all teams should try to cheat. But I'm saying all teams are going to find a way to get a competitive advantage. And if it means doing it by opening up an LLC that has a different name, like, then yeah, they're going to probably do that. And once one does it, they're all going to do it. And I'm sure one did it decades ago, and teams got to keep up. So I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's reality. And again, we'll see what other facts come out of it. You know, my opinion right now is not a strong opinion. I just think, like, right now where we are in the timeline, Pablo Torre looks like he didn't do enough research before he posted this story. And by tomorrow, that could change. That's where we are right now. We'll keep tracking it and see what happens. But I think at the end of the day, nothing much happens from it. I don't think Kawhi's even going to get suspended. And I don't think there'll be a fine for Steve Ballmer, because it actually, everything from Zach Lowe to Mark Cuban, it seems like Ballmer and the Clippers didn't actually do that. They didn't try to funnel money. And it seems like Steve Ballmer actually got screwed by this Aspiration company. And yeah, that sucks for him. So anyway, that's the NBA news story today that dropped that seemed crazy a couple hours ago. Another news, that's it. Last sleep before the NFL season. I will talk to you guys soon with some football conversations. Cannot wait. We got to predict week 1 NFL matchups. I'll talk to y'all soon.